Good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. I want to start off by telling you about my first job before I became a journalist. So my first job was in the first year of the Reagan presidency. So for you Americans in the audience, you know that's a long time ago. And my first job was, got a job in a paint factory in Chicago. And I got the job, and this sort of backs up Caroline's point about family connections, because my mom worked at the factory. And it was a pretty good paying job, cleaning out paint tanks for the summer with a high pressure hose. Pretty dirty, not really very fun work, but it paid well. And my sister was looking for a job at the same time. And she wound up cobbling together babysitting, working as a waitress at a diner, working at a laundromat. And so I asked, for about half the money, so I asked my mom, well, Mom, why don't you just get a job for Beth at the paint factory? And what do you think she said? Why wouldn't you want your daughter to work at a paint factory? And just to give you a little hint, probably 90% of the factory workers were men. Why wouldn't you want your daughter to work there? Anybody? Shout it out.
She's a woman.
But go deeper. She's a woman, but she's not supposed to do that, somebody said. Well, I'm looking for one more reason. Too many men? What might that be? What might be the concern? Right, safety, security, and you just don't see girls in that role. So I got to take my sister to lunch a lot that summer, because I had more money. So, which brings us to the girl effect. And I just want to ask if anyone's heard of the girl effect. Show of hands, yeah? Wow, that's good. So the girl effect is, more than anything, is an economic theory. And the theory is this, that if you invest in girls and young women, it's the shortest path to reducing and eliminating poverty. Partly, and this really bothers some people in the gender community, because they are undeniably the future mothers of every child on earth. So, and as such, they play a disproportionate role in the health and safety and educational attainment of their children. So if you invest in girls, you're going to transform the world at a faster rate. So that's one of the reasons. And the other is that girls are simply the most untapped potential. Because the world has ignored them for so long, there's simply more potential there. So the Nike Foundation, this isn't our theory, we didn't invent this. This was the work of lots of smart people in development for a long time. And but what we did do is maybe help package it. We gave it a name, the girl effect, and we've helped advance that movement around the world. So we've been doing this for about 8 years now. And the reason it's so important, I think, for job growth and employment crises is that in the future, and even right now, if we want to have vibrant economies, if we want to have economies where innovation flourishes and where new businesses are started, we're going to have to use all our human capital. And innovation can come from anywhere. And if you think about, I would imagine that if you asked people 10 years ago, what country on earth will be the leader in mobile money transfers, you would have said, some people would have said the US because of its Silicon Valley innovation machine. Some would have said Europe because of more economic integration. Probably would have been some Finlands in there because the mobile technology industry was in many ways born there. Probably nobody would have guessed Kenya, but Kenya is the global leader in mobile money. So innovation can come from any time, any place, any country. And if we want to build a place where economies flourish, we're going to have to invest in everybody, which brings me to the main case around why investing in girls and women is critical to job growth and employment. And it's a pretty simple case. Half of human potential is in girls and women. So, so half the brain power, half the ingenuity, half the creativity. You know, we like to say at the foundation that the next Steve Jobs could be a child bride in India, or the next Bill Gates could have just dropped out of school in Bangladesh because his or her parents didn't have money to keep her in school. So investing in that potential is really a critical part of our strategy. We know right now that that potential is being wasted. There's 100 million child brides. There's 16 million there's 16 million teen mothers every year. And we know that secondary school completion, although it has improved, is still very low and still disproportionate among girls versus boys. So we also know that if we do invest, that incredible things happen. If you build an economy where girls are fully included, you see marriage gets delayed, there are fewer, women have fewer children, and they make more money. So we started to wonder a little bit why the sort of irrational gap. If there's data to suggest that investing in girls and women leads to stronger economies, why might people not be doing it? And we spent a lot of time trying to convince people of that. And a lot of it is this quote here, this feeling that it is a low investment. Educating your daughter is like watering your neighbor's fields. This is a Kenyan proverb, and there's similar things to this all over the world. And so we're really trying to change that. And there's really kind of two parts to this. There's one, how do you change it on the ground in a country like Kenya or Ethiopia or the United States? But also, how do you change it at the development community level? Because as much as we want people to think this at the family unit level, at the community level, we also need to know that in the development community, we often don't invest in girls either. And I'll have a slide on that in just a moment. So we thought maybe a good place to start to try to unpack, to try to convince people rather why investing in girls would be such a powerful thing when it comes to economics and economic growth would be to try to paint a picture of what the world might look like if indeed we did invest fully in girls and women. So to that we turned to The Economist, and we did some math, and this is what we came up with. I'm not going to unpack all these numbers for you, but we partnered with the World Bank, and we did the Nike Foundation did, and they released a working paper last fall that looked at, well, what if countries invested such that teen pregnancy, child marriage were reduced, and that there was employment equality between boys and girls. And what might the payoff be over time, and how much would that add to specific countries' GDP? So I'm just going to give you a few stats that we thought were really interesting. So first, Brazil, not on this map, but in the study, could add $23 billion annually to its GDP if girls were employed at the same level as boys, and young men and young women. So to give you an idea what 23 billion might be like, that is 35 times Nike's revenues in Brazil, added to the Brazilian economy. India, of course, because of its vast population, it's probably the most dramatic numbers. And if India was to able to solve teen pregnancy, there's 4 million teen births in India every year. So if we were able to delay that till girls were no longer teenagers, India would add $383 billion to its GDP because girls would enter the formal economy, earn more money. And to give you an idea, that's roughly the market capitalization of Apple. So it's like adding Apple to your national economy. I want to tell you a little story from Senegal, and before I unpack this slide. So I was in Senegal a few years ago when I first worked for the foundation, and there was an organization that was hoping to get some funding from the Nike Foundation, and they did a lot of really good work. So I'm not going to embarrass them by saying who they were. But they really wanted me to see a couple projects. So they took me to they really wanted me to see this youth computer literacy training program. And so we went to the youth computer literacy training program. There was a lab with really nice state-of-the-art computers. I gotten donated. And there were lots of people in the room, and they all seemed really excited. And I looked around, and I thought, okay, where are the girls? And if any of you have worked in this issue with computer literacy programs, it's often a room full of really nice computers and mostly men in their 20s. Some teens, but mostly in their 20s, even 30s. So I asked them, where are the girls? And they said, oh, the girls aren't really that interested, but we have another program that's working with the girls. We're going to take you there later. And I said, well, why do you think they're that interested? And they're just, they'd rather do other things. And so we went to the girls' economic development program, and the girls were in a room and they were sewing. So the boys get the computers and the girls get to sew placemats. And I said, well, what's your market strategy? How will you sell these placemats? And they said, well, we're going to sell them to donors like you. So the marketing strategy was, girls are going to sew and they're going to sell stuff to the donors who fund the program. And so my mom got a lot of placemats for Christmas that year. So the point of that program is that youth programs often overlook girls and young women. And the Population Council did the stats you're seeing here. And it's pretty easy to unpack. They did a study of 130 youth programs, and they found that about 60% of those youth programs wind up going towards boys and young men. And if you did the age segmentation, 40% go to 20 and above, and about 35% to 15 and 19. So the demographic sector that gets most left out are women, and among women, young women. So for all of you who will be future development planners, just try to, if there's one thing you remember from today, remember this slide. And when you're designing your programs, make sure that you disaggregate data by age and sex, and make sure in your monitoring and evaluation that you figure out how to make sure girls and young women are included. So I am going to just quickly unpack this one. We work, the Nike Foundation is a funder of a World Bank program called the Adolescent Girl Initiative. And this program really tried to figure out how can we break this cycle of channeling girls into very gender-specific jobs. And this young woman, Victoria, is a bus driver in Monrovia. It's not it's a good, stable, paying job. And the sort of innovations around this program were, first, let's make sure that we talk to the private sector so we're informed about what real jobs are. So many job training programs wind up giving men and women, girls and boys, skills that aren't really super relevant in the marketplace. So including them as part of the people designing the program was one of the innovations. Another innovation in the program that made it successful was that we had we gave incentives to the trainers. So if you got your trainee a job, you would get a bonus at the end of it. So those things were just a couple of the innovations. And 83% of the girls who went through this program now have jobs. And almost everyone has a savings account. So they were introduced into the formal economy in a really powerful way. And we're really proud to be a part of that program with the World Bank. It's in 7 countries, by the way. I'm going to skip over this one because I'm running out of time. But if anyone's interested in direct assets, come and find me later. So I'm just going to close now. I'm going to show you a video. It's very short. And it really just sums up why investing in girls, I hope anyway, is such a powerful tool for repositioning them in economies and leveraging the full human capital that is going to make us deliver vibrant economies and grow jobs. So this video is called The Clock is Ticking, and thank you all for your time and attention.